Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's PreMarket Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Thick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Monday. It is September 30th, 2019. I am Brent Slava filling in for Joel Elconin here. Joel and Spencer away on a holiday, so you're stuck with Dennis and Chris and I, unfortunately. I'm sure we're going to do fine for Joel and Spencer. I know they're listening out there, so don't worry, guys. We got this covered. Let's take a quick look at the indices here. So looking at the S&P 500 futures, up 8.5 points, 2,972.5. Moving over to crude oil. Crude's trading down about 1%. That's about 57 cents per barrel, 55.34 per barrel. Gold down $16 per ounce, 14.90.5 there in gold. And why not take a look at good old Bitcoin? We have Bitcoin trading up. It looks like 45 points here. That's about 0.5%. 8,080 last trade in Bitcoin, coming off the weekend here into a bit of a abbreviated holiday. No time off or anything, but on the holiday today, celebrating Yom Kippur, we do have a lot less volume. And I think I'm going to bring in Dennis here. Dennis, how was your weekend? How you doing this morning?
I'm doing okay. I'm having a bad hair day, so I decided to actually throw on the hat today. So I was going to put the Lions hat on, and then I was like, I can't wear the Lions hat. I mean, they blew the lead a couple times in the fourth. It was very disappointing loss. So I threw the Tigers hat on. Worst team in baseball, but we'll give them a little love here this morning. But you know what? The Lions had a pretty good showing in that game. So were you watching it?
I watched a little bit of it. Actually.
Yeah.
Just a heartbreaker, man.
Yeah, it's a heartbreaker late. I mean, it's happened. So anyways, if they would have won that game, they would have been for real. So now you're skeptic. The skeptics are going to be out here this morning on the Lions. But you know what? They played a pretty good game. So we were close. And you know what else is going to happen today?
What's that?
My buddy at Barron's Rings bought a Tesla here. He got it 3 days ago. He's going to take me for a ride in the Tesla.
Woo-hoo!
Later on, around lunchtime, he's swinging by, show me the Model 3 performance. It goes from 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds. Yeah. And he says it's so quiet. So I get to go out for a ride in my first Tesla. I've been in a Tesla. Never went for a ride in it, so I'm pretty excited about that.
You're going to drive it? You're going to ask him to drive it?
I don't know if he's going to let me drive or not. He just got it 3 days ago. Maybe he's going to be... Well, the car drives itself, right? So nobody has to drive.
I was listening to a podcast yesterday. Dan Aykroyd was the podcast guest, and he was talking with Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan's like, every other car out there compared to a Tesla looks stupid. That's what he said.
You know what? The cars look unbelievable. And I think, I do believe, and Jason Raznick has offered this before, as you see more and more on the road, I think the buzz is going to continue to go here for Tesla. It's why I still remain in the Tesla bull camp. I'm not long the stock, but it's the stock I always want to be long. I just can't stomach the stock for whatever reason. I've had puts written on it before. I've actually, and I intend to write more puts on it again. So I've kind of been playing it from that perspective there, and it's worked out pretty well. The Jerremy Newsome style, I know he had some puts written with me as well. He's going to be on at 8:35. Yep. I'm going to listen to him and see when he's writing again, if he's getting ready to write again. But you know what? Pretty good couple days for Tesla here. Just when the bears think they got some, something going here, and the stock falls 15 points in a couple of days, gets it right back. I mean, this is a stock that's very resilient. In the face of bad news, Tesla has done very well. I still believe in the story. I know they have debt issues. I know there's a lot of, people who out there think and believe it's going to go to zero. I am not one of them. I don't know if it's going to 500 or 1,000, but I do not think it's going to go bankrupt. I've said that before, and that's why I'm comfortable to write puts in the low 100s, because I think if the stock gets low enough, and these are longer-term puts that I'm grabbing, I think if it gets low enough, Elon Musk would sell. So I do not think that this is going to be a bankruptcy issue. Buy Apple in the chat is telling us there's going to be Tesla production numbers this week. I know it was up on Friday because Elon Musk was hinting about, I think he was saying something about 100,000 cars. Was he not?
That I don't know. Okay, so there was a report of an internal leaked email where said, yeah, they could be nearing 100,000. I don't think we don't ever hear any like confirmation necessarily.
Yeah, these seem interesting, these internal leaks here that continue to happen at Tesla, but it is what it is. It's storied stock. People love it or they hate it. There's really no in between. I'm a fan. I believe the cars are awesome, and I do believe they're going to eventually catch on even more. I think as more and more people see them, like I just see the people talk about them, as like I said, my buddy got a Tesla and everybody's asking questions,
right.
so I had to send pictures right away. So people, there's still interest out there. It's not like, Tesla, I know what they're all about and I'm not interested. I mean, and we're in a big 3 city here too.
Right.
So this is, GM, Ford, Chrysler, Windsor, Detroit. So, there's interest even here.
So you're saying like, people around here should be talking about Ford and GM, but they're still talking.
They should be arguing with me right away and saying, well, we got our own electric cars coming. You will see that happen, but there's still interest. People are interested in these Tesla cars, and there's not that many on the road here yet. So anyways, it's not a Tesla show, but I just wanted to mention that I'm going to go for a ride. So I'll give you the full report there. I should take the Tesla for a ride to McDonald's to try the Beyond Meat Burger. That's what I should be doing, right?
ELT.
That's what we should be doing. And we get the 2 storied stocks, Tesla and Beyond Meat. We could get, I could get, right from me. I'm like Brian Sozzi here and going and actually trying out the burger, going and actually trying the car and giving you my opinion here, being on foot and interviewing people outside of McDonald's. Did you try the new 650 Beyond Meat Burger?
Hey, who's this weird guy? Get him away from me.
Yeah, this weird guy wearing a Tigers hat. Does he know how bad the Tigers were this year?
And so Chris does have the Tesla chart up there and bumping up. So we're at around 242 right now. Tesla is bumping up a little bit against a few highs in the 248. I see a high from last Friday, 248.71. I see a high back on September 18th, 248.17. Another one, September 13th, 248.45. So just keep in mind that it does appear to be bumping up against a little bit of resistance moving higher here.
I mean, 250 has always been a problem for Tesla here. It was, if we just go back there, even 253.50. I mean, we're just taking, when you're $200 stock, you're never going to kiss it right on the button very often. But as it seems to get higher, it seems to be sellers. It's been in a range. I mean, really, it's been in a range here for the last couple of months, and it's getting towards the top of that range here again. But it's all going to matter with these production numbers. So if obviously the numbers are weak, the stock's going to get hit. So it's probably going to be trading a little bit more quiet ahead of those numbers. And then when we do actually get those production numbers, you're going to see a big move off of Tesla. I always say technicals take a back seat when you have fundamental data coming out.
When the fundamentals are in play, technicals go away.
Hey, you learned that from me, didn't you?
I really did. I use it every single day, Dennis. And I was trying to look real quick at my Benzinga Pro, but I thought there was an analyst who was bullish on it into the production numbers, kind of like citing those production numbers.
It wasn't Gordon Johnson, I'll tell you that, because I looked at the Gordon Johnson number. He came out. He's obviously got his new company, GLJ Research. We have Gordon Johnson on the show all the time. We love Gordon because he's very opinionated. He tells it how he thinks. He doesn't sugarcoat anything.
Nope.
And he came out with the sell rating on Tesla. And what was his price target? Do you have it in the Pro there?
Let me see.
I think it was like $67 or something. So I was like, that's not good for me.
Yeah, it was 67. Yeah, I think you're right.
67. I was going for my memory. So
pulling it up.
Brentster's looking in the Pro there right now.
Let's see. Yep, 67.
Yeah, it comes out with 67 price target.
So
who is the bull?
Right. Who is the bull? Are you saying, or he is?
Who was the bull? Didn't you say somebody was?
So here's what I just looked in Benzinga Pro. So it was a Credit Suisse analyst. He is certainly not a bull. He's got an underperform rating. He's got a 189 price target.
Oh.
But he's saying that the consensus estimate is for 96,000 right now.
Yeah.
And that analyst saying that Tesla would have to deliver about 46,000 vehicles in September, and they didn't seem like that was that crazy. So a bear with a little bit of leaning bullishness into those.
So he thinks they might hit these numbers.
Yeah, that's what it seems to be saying. And do we know?
There you go. So and the leaked email makes me think that they're going to hit 100,000 here too. The question is that all priced in from the last couple of days now?
Why do you do something?
Do we know what day these numbers coming out by Apple? I didn't write it down. I don't know which day.
Wednesday.
Okay. That's what we're thinking is Wednesday. If we're wrong on that, somebody can tweet at me. You can correct me here if you want. We believe it is Wednesday. Those numbers are coming out.
Help us out there if you heard differently. But yeah, I believe they usually come out on a Tuesday or Wednesday. So we should see.
So let's move on to overall market talk here, because we did get some rallies here overnight in China. If you look at the FXI, it is trading up about 1.2%. If you want to look at the EEM, it's trading up almost 1%. And Alibaba is always a good indicator of what's going on.
Emerging market EEM.
Yeah, EEM. And then you got Alibaba trading up 2.5% here this morning. So it's up significantly as well, getting back about half the losses that I had from Friday. Had a really rough Friday. You saw a lot of stocks, a lot of Momo stocks, stocks that had been actually, pretty hot, rolling over again. Roku had a tough day on Friday. Netflix actually sets up kind of interesting here. Still not looking very good on the chart at all, but interesting because the last two candles from the last 2 days are virtually identical. And what I mean by that, those are always interesting setups, because if they break one way or the other, you kind of go with the flow. So if we look at the range on Netflix, I'm going NFLX on the 26th, which would have been Thursday. The low of the day was 260.20, high of the day was 268.05. Then on Friday's trade, high of the day 267.44, low 260.39. So, for a $260 stock, you're within 50 cents of the high and 30 cents of the low. So that's huge support now, the 260 number, and also huge resistance 268. So what I would say is if it starts to break out over 268, then you think, okay, maybe you got some life up to 280. If it starts to break down through that 260, then you think you're going to retest that low. So you have an interesting setup there. I mean, I guess you play the range until it doesn't work, and the range has been 260 to 268. It's right in the middle of that this morning, 264. But the story here is what I'm concerned about, and that's why I've come out on this show in the last couple of months, and I was saying this up when the stock was in the 300. So I've been right so far, is that I believe that Netflix is going to be under 200 within 12 months. I'm about a month after that call, and it's already down at 260. I still believe the story is broken here, and I think the stock is still going lower. So I still lean to the short side on this on rallies. Dennis, just my opinion.
Yeah, and then actually that 260 low that you referenced there, that actually took place the very last day of 2018. It was December 31st, 2018. Below that, we're looking at lows 249.80. That was the 28th, and then December 27th, 2018 was a low of 240.10. And we're sort of getting down into the 230 region.
Yeah, we're starting to get back down. It's a broken story here right now. And, competition is what the major issue here is, which we've talked about a lot on the show as well. Disney, Apple, Comcast, they're pulling content off of Netflix. And obviously, coming up with their own streaming services. And Netflix just isn't going to have this free-for-all here anymore going ahead. And that's the concern. And, you get these nosebleed multiples where something's trading 80 or 90 times forward earnings, maybe even 100 times forward earnings. I haven't looked at the P lately. It's probably come in a little bit because the stock price has come down. And then you look and you think, okay, well, a lot of competition coming. So that's why I think the story is broken here on Netflix, and I still remain bearish the stock.
And then so it looks like somebody in the chat highlighting, an interesting month for Netflix next month. We have October 16th looks like setting up for Netflix earnings. That is a
very important day, because obviously in the last earnings report, we saw the big gap down. So expectations are going to be lower. That's one thing, working in the favor of the bulls coming up. The one thing that's going to work against them, though, is there's going to be overhead supply here now, because a lot of people, I even had a friend there. It's like, how can you go wrong buying Netflix at 300? It was 380. It's going to go back up there. I was like, not necessarily. And I was trying to give the bear story. I don't know if he bought it or not, but there's people that believe, that stocks and good names, big names that everybody talks about, when they pull back 10, 15%, they're always a buying opportunity. And that's not always the case. So we're seeing that now, especially in the moves in some of the Momos like Roku and Shopify, which, coincidentally, we've been talking about them a lot, but they've had some really rough, they had a rough Friday as well. Roku tried to show life for a couple of days, stopped going down at least, and then on Friday started breaking down again here. And the chart looks still broken to me. I mean, we are trying to somewhat bottom at the 96 level, which was the low back on August the 5th and August the 7th. Okay. We came in at 98, but you take that out, and then you think you might go to the July low of 87. So I don't know. The stock still feels heavy to me. I don't feel like it's done going down.
Last time, and so we had Roku trading, just recently, like last week, below $100. When's the last time it traded below? Okay, here we go.
Back to August. So really, when you think about it here, Brent, we had the earnings gap and go, and then it had the ridiculous run where everybody's just piling in, and the thing went up to the $176. And then the story broke Obviously, I had a great swing short on there. I just, my entries have always been good. We got to talk to this Jerremy Newsome guy. Maybe he can teach me to hold better, because I went swing short on that at 169. Main reason was that Shopify had dropped 20 points that day. And I was like, I think this is going to be the reversal day for Roku. So I actually went short on that first big red candle that you see there that day. It was that morning. It opened up like $5, and a lot of stocks had opened up that day. And Shopify had turned around and rolled over almost 20 points from the highs. And I was like, you know what? They're going to hit Shopify. Not that they're anything to do with each other, but these were two storied stocks that were having buyers just pile in. So similar types of investors will be in these kind of stocks. And if they start to get hurt on Shopify, they start to get hurt on a stock like Roku too. So you can see how you can pair stocks up. And this is going into, relationship-based trading, which, I specialize in. Yeah. But you can see how you can pair stocks up that have nothing to do with each other. All they have to do with each other is that these are Momo storied stocks. And when one of those stocks starts to roll over that's been a leader, like Shopify was, it often will start to drag down the other ones too, because it's the same type of investors. They're getting hit on Shopify. They're like, well, I don't want to get hit on Roku too. I'm way up in this. I'm going to book the profits. Well, and we can see in 2 days, Roku went from 167 to 140. I made 15 points, I believe, on it, which felt pretty good in one day. Obviously, looking back, if I would have held a week and a half, I would have made 60. I'd be up 70 points in it. So I got to learn how to hold better. But anyways, I identified that catalyst, which I believed was Shopify rolling over that day, which allowed me to get a nice short on Roku.
And Dennis, I think you imagine somebody going, okay, this Roku thing worked really well for us. Where else can we find something else like it? And they just look for the momentum, like you're saying. It doesn't have to be in the same industry.
Once the momentum breaks and some of your leaders, they'll go to the other momos and start hitting them as well. This is the way this market works. And it's also a lot of psychology behind it all, but a lot of, fear as well. And there had been zero fear. The only fear in Roku and Shopify for the first half of August, and even into obviously the end of August, was the fear of missing out. And that fear changed very quickly, when Shopify had the big bad day, which I'm talking about, I believe it was. I'm looking at it on September the 9th. Yeah. So Shopify actually topped out a week before Roku, but it had that really ugly candle you can see. And if we actually went to an intraday, it'd be tough to just go break that down. But I remember it was all in the morning. It opened up a little bit that day, from the previous day's close. And it went straight down. And as I saw him just whacking Shopify, I was like, okay, I'm getting short Roku because it's going to follow suit. And it did. And this is what, and we talk, a lot of people use technicals. A lot of people, you have different styles of trading. My main way that I trade is relationship-based trading, understanding that there's relationships and relationships break. I mean, it's not like Shopify and Roku are always going to be related to each other. They were just, related for the last couple months because they're Momo plays. But these change, relationships can change too. I mean, Coke, Pepsi is always going to have a relationship. AT&T, Verizon is always going to have a relationship because they're similar stocks in similar industries with similar business models. But, certain stocks can have relationships that just all of a sudden show up and all of a sudden break as well. And Shopify, Roku has been in a relationship for a while, and they still are related to each other. So because they're both Momo plays, similar types of investors in those stocks making similar types of moves.
Dennis, and looking at the some data here on Roku, the big volume day was September 20th, and we traded over 65 million shares on that day that you were noting the low there. We traded about 24 million shares, so a huge volume day there on September 20th.
That was the analyst that came out with the price target, I believe, and put the 80 or the $60 price target, I believe, on it.
Yep. And
that spooked everyone.
Yep, all the way down to 103.62. That was at low on September 20th. Dennis, swinging back to something that you said a minute ago, there wasn't really any China news over the weekend, right? And we do, like you were pointing out, we do have the FXI higher today. And so it hasn't really happened in the last couple months even. Well, in a couple weeks, I guess, that we haven't had news that was kind of like impacting the markets over the weekend. So, I guess no new developments. We're still sort of dealing with those developments on Friday, talking about potentially blocking flows into China, and nothing really happened over the weekend. And so I think we're just getting a little bit of a rebound here. Is that kind of?
I mean, Alibaba lifting here too obviously helps as well because it's such a big component in a lot of the emerging market indexes here. But you saw a lot of weakness Friday, so you're getting a bounce. Mm-hmm. And I would call this nothing more than a bounce. I'm long Alibaba in my retirement account, but as a trade, the stock is somewhat broken here. There's a really ugly candle on Friday. So if I had this on for a trade, I would probably be lightening up into it. I'm not going to, because I've got in the retirement account. I got to stop trading the retirement account. So, it's a stock I believe in long term, and that's why I'm still in it. But if I had this on for a trade and I was playing it, from the long side, I think the candle that happened on Friday makes it look more broken to me, this story. So as you see, I get half of its losses back just this morning. It would make me want to hit the sell button more than the buy button.
Huge volume on Friday, also 33 million shares.
Yeah. Yeah, really rolled over. I mean, you're talking about a stock that opened at 176 and went down to 163, a stock that lost 8% intraday. It was a really ugly day for Alibaba. So bouncing, I call this nothing more than a dead cat bounce today. I wouldn't get excited and say, okay, the bottom's in. If I think the people who are coming in here and buying it now, I think are on the wrong side of the trade.
163.15 low was that low from Friday in Alibaba. So keep your eyes on that. Dennis, not really any a ton of exciting news this week. Real quick, just wanted to say, not really any notable earnings today. We got Cal-Maine Foods, it's CALM. They already reported today. Kind of moving through this week. We get McCormick tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're gonna get Stitch Fix. Wednesday, we're gonna get Lennar, Home Builder, Paychex, Bed Bath & Beyond, which got a downgrade to underperform today.
No, upgrade, wasn't it?
Upgrade, excuse me. Yep, you're right. Yep. And then Thursday, we're going to get Pepsi, Constellation, Costco. So we're sort of getting a little bit more excited on the earnings front later.
At the end of retail earnings season, so we're getting a few. And obviously, this is the end of the quarter here as well. So we will see earnings pick up in about a week and a half as we start getting the earnings from the third quarter coming in. But we've got to, consider here that there's going to be a lot of volatility here at the close, because this is not only the end of the month, it is the end of the quarter. This is typical days that they talk about window dressing, where managers will be buying stocks that have been outperforming, trying to make their portfolios look a little bit nicer, maybe selling stocks that have been underperforming. Yep. So a lot of times you can see some follow through moves on certain stocks that have had a weak quarter, or certain stocks that have had a strong quarter. But sometimes it can go the other way as well. Nothing is in stone. It seems to be, obviously as traders, we always live in the percentages. And if something has an edge of 55, I like to play it from that way as opposed to 45. But the one thing you can always promise at the end of the quarter is usually some significant volatility on the close.
Yeah, and Spinner actually highlighting that Thor Industries also had some earnings today. That's THO. Dennis, something that I wanted to get your take on a little bit is on the news desk, the earnings team, the earnings season is an extremely busy time for us, right? So we're never, extremely excited to get into the earnings season just because it means a lot of work for us. But actually this quarter, I'm kind of getting excited for earnings because we need some fundamental news here. Right now, the market is trading on zero fundamental information.
It's trading on Trump's Twitter account.
Exactly. So it kind of happened last quarter also, where I felt like we were getting into the cycle of kind of stale news. People are kind of focused on the same thing. So much headline risk that it's sort of good when you get these earnings seasons to break up the kind of lack of fundamental information. So it's really good to get some of that fundamental information back into the market, so people are focused on earnings and sales and PEs and stuff like that.
It's a catalyst.
Can you feel that there's no catalyst?
Yeah, and that's probably why we've just chopped around a lot. It seems like the buy the dip mentality is still there on the overall market, because when we lose the leaders, like we lost Shopify and Roku, we picked up the laggards. The banks had a pretty darn good quarter. A lot of those banks turned around, and obviously, maybe that's interest rate related, but the home builders and the banks had a pretty good quarter. Even the utilities were very strong this quarter again, so it's probably more of an interest rate trade. But you're seeing rotation still happen, and this is how it's hard to really get on board with the full bear case here yet, because the rotation is still in there. When bears start to take over and chew it up, like we saw at the end of December, they don't just start, they aren't rotating from sector to sector. They're rotating into cash, and they're selling stocks altogether. That is what we saw at the end of December. We saw fear. We saw the markets fall 15% in a matter of a week and a half. And that was a very scary time, because the rotation was not happening to keep us up. Rotation is still happening here to keep us up. So even though we've saw some of the leaders fall significantly, we've just saw the rotation happen, and even into stocks like Apple, which have held up very, very well. So, it's a funny market. Rotation's still happening here, and we do need, to come in and get more catalysts here, because right now we're just kind of bouncing around and chopping up and really going nowhere on the S&P. So earnings is always a catalyst. Let's see how the next earnings season is.
And Dennis, you were highlighting a couple news items from over the weekend and ahead into this week. Kind of seemed like it was in biotech and sort of healthcare land a little bit. We had a Mallinckrodt settlement.
Yeah.
there. Amgen had some drug news. One thing that you were kind of excited about, I think, was this data that is going to be coming out from Sarepta, that's SRPT, later this week.
Well, Citigroup is apparently excited about it. This has been, and I want to talk about, we talk about good trades and bad trades. A lot of times, traders will mention their good trades. I like to mention my bad trades too, and bad investments. And I've wanted Sarepta on my long-term portfolio because I believe in the long-term story for a long time. I took my shot on that first day, and I've even my spiny senses were telling me you shouldn't do that, but I wanted it. I took a half-size position only because, and whenever I take a half-size position, it means I'm not as confident as I should be, and maybe I shouldn't take any position at all. But I took a half-size position, put it in the long-term portfolio, and said I'll buy more if it starts going down. I have not bought more because I hate adding to losers, so it seems like I never do buy more when they start to go against me. But I bought this on the first day at around 100. From the 120 to the 100. It sat there for a couple days and then broke down, and it should continue to break down. When stocks are broken, they stay broken for a long time. They almost need a catalyst to kickstart them the other way. This stock remains broken here. It's had some good, it's had a couple of, pieces of, maybe analyst and commentary along the way. And today we get this again because Citigroup is coming out and saying it's one of their top picks. And they are obviously putting a buy, or they have their buy rating already on it. They're just reiterating their buy rating. They did cut their price target from 185 to 180, but saying it still remains a top buy. And they're positive about this data that's supposed to come out this week on SRPT. So it's going to be a big week for SRPT. No trade on this for me, just the long-term retirement account sitting in there. But again, what I want other traders to learn from my mistake is don't be a hero and try to stop the stock from going down. Even if you want it in your long-term portfolio, wait a few days, wait for a dust to settle, wait till the stock starts turning. We talk about that all the time. And even though I talk about it all the time, sometimes I don't listen to my own words. And in this case, I didn't listen to my own words and I got punished for it. Sarepta was a broken chart and there was no reason to jump in on day one. And I did. And I obviously got punished for it significantly because the stock is down, 25% from where I bought it just a month ago. So this is, so when you're seeing stocks that really get hammered on earnings, even like in the case of Micron on Friday, it's never that good of an idea to jump in on day one because it seems like that those sellers will continue to be there. And you have a lot of overhead supply all of a sudden, people who are caught from the night before that or the day before who want to be, want to get their money back. So it makes the path of least resistance actually further to the downside as opposed to just bouncing right back. You usually don't see these stocks bounce right back. And I'm going to continue to try to learn. 22 years of trading, and you're still learning. Every day you have to learn. And I can remember even saying this to myself, even when I first started learning, before I started bright trading, I remember this lesson back in like 1998 or 1997 when I was just trading my parents' money because I didn't have any money. I was in college myself. But I remember I bought some Oracle stock, which had went, and obviously in the long term that was a really good play, but in the short term the stock had a disappointing earnings report and went from 23 down to 18. And I bought it on day one. I was like, oh, it's going to bounce back. Well, that stock continued to leak for the next 6 months, and it actually went down, I think, to $13 or $14. This would be pre-split, and you're going back. So you're going to look at these prices. It's going to look differently because the stock split since then. Right. But I can remember that. And I remember saying to myself is don't buy them on day one. So I learned this lesson back in 1998. And here I am 21 years later. And I made the same mistake on Sarepta. So don't be a hero. Don't buy them on day one. More often than not, they continue to leak for a while. And it usually takes a catalyst, maybe an analyst or a big insider buy or something to kickstart it the other way. And until you get that catalyst, they can continue to leak. And that is what has happened with Sarepta.
76.99 was that high on Thursday. And then 72.05 was the low, and we're a little bit more around that range.
This data is going to matter. The one thing going against it, though, even if it bounces on the data and it gets up to 85, 86, think of all the people who are down in the stock that are potential sellers, even like myself. So, they become sellers obviously if the thing starts to rally and they're hoping to get some of their money back. So it's difficult for stocks that are in the doghouse to turn around on a dime. That's my point to the story.
Yeah, that's where the psychology really
it really is. People don't want to. It goes right back to loss aversion from behavioral finance, which I took in school. And people don't like to sell at a loss. I mean, Jerremy Newsome, who we're going to have on in 5 minutes, he does his all day trading around stuff like that, figuring out where all the pain is. These people are caught. They're going to become sellers. I'm sure he's going to talk about this, in 5 minutes with us too, the same side. And he does it in short-term swing trading and short-term day trading. I'm talking about it from a longer-term perspective And I use that, that psychology in it as well. But it works in the short term too, even on day trades. It's like, people are in this and stocks started breaking down. Now it starts to pop back up. Well, he's more of a seller than a buyer because it's people who are day trading this thing who are long it right now, hoping to get their money back. Because even day traders don't like to lose money. And there's a lot of them who have that loss aversion where they don't want to sell at a loss, hoping to get their money back. And when you're in the hope trade, you're in the hopeless trade, and you can play that pain trade in a lot of different stocks. And Sarepta still is in a clear downtrend. So it's a stock that, probably, even though it has data coming, I'm not sure I'd be a buyer here right now, even though I own the stock in my long-term retirement account.
And it looks like that data is going to be phase 1 to 9-month data. It looks like it's going to be, so they're holding a webcast on Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern time. I don't know that means that the data is going to be out on Friday. The data might be out on Thursday, but it is data for their
it's coming though.
Muscular dystrophy treatment. Yep, exactly. Dennis, the one thing that I want to ask you about real quick, just we got to get to Jeremy here in a few, but
yep.
So I feel like I get this question a lot from Benzinga Pro users. Like, how do you fight that FOMO? How do you sort of fight and, think about your discipline and go, I got burned last time, heads up this time. Do you do anything to practice that so you don't get yourself in a position like you are in a little bit with Sarepta here?
I have a real tough time balancing. So in the trading portfolio, I have zero tolerance for losers. I cut my losers very quickly. I don't like in my day trading portfolio, I clear it out every single day. So I have overnight trades, I'll do stuff, but for the most part in my day trading portfolio, I will get flat every single, at the middle of the day or whatever it is for my overnight trades. I get out of them all at the open. So I'm trying to always, be flat, and then I start to get into positions. We know I don't trade much from 10 to 2. I've said that before because I feel like it's chop hours and there's not as much money in there. So often, I'm at by 10:30 or 11 o'clock in the morning, I'm flat in my day trading portfolio. Then I take a few hours off. I go for a ride in my buddy's Tesla like today. And, and then I come back to the markets at 2:30, sometimes even as late as 3 o'clock and get ready for the close. I'll be earlier today because of the quarter expiration. So I obviously that's going to be some more volatility for me. But then I start to, position myself. I do have swing trades on sometimes. Right now, I don't have any swing trades on. My bread and butter has always been the day trading, but I have trouble separating the investing side from the day trading side. I try not to look at my invest portfolio. I try to think longer term. Do I like the story longer term? And I go with those stocks. But that got me in trouble because still timing. And my timing on putting Sarepta on my long-term portfolio couldn't have been worse. It couldn't have been worse because I tried to call a bottom and I could have waited on that. But I was excited because it had come down a long ways. It's a stock that I always wanted. It's a stock that I had at one time. And, and it came back down and I was thinking, okay, I want it now. And sometimes, you get lucky and you actually get the bottom. But more often than not, you don't. And more often than not, these things continue to leak. So the original question was, how do you, stop yourself from, the FOMO? I would say that's more of a momentum-based trade. So maybe Sarepta isn't the best example, but let's take a stock like ROKU and talk about the FOMO in that, because that's all there was for the entire month of August and the first part of September was people were in this thing. The fear of missing out was the trade. And they had to be in it because ROKU was the best way to play streaming. Jim Cramer was pumping it every night, every day, it seemed like on CNBC, that this is the way you play streaming. It's the pure play, and everybody's going to be in this thing. But you can play it. And I was long ROKU a couple of times, and I had even said I thought maybe it was going to go to 200. I had said this on the show, even though I wasn't in it at that time, but I was in it from the long side a couple of times. But one day changed everything, and what that was Shopify. So when the first stock rolls over, I think the next one's going to roll over. And that's why I was able to actually get short ROKU, going against the trend there. But I had another, stock that I was using as an indicator to say, I think maybe the tide is turning here. So, and I was able to get that on day one. That's not always going to be the case. But when the chart breaks, when they start to break down, that's usually a signal that, hey, FOMO, now could turn into fear itself. And that's where, you can make some serious money, because let's look at ROKU. I mean, it went up, 80 points or 75 points in a matter of a month, just over a month. Well, it gave that all back in a matter of 3 weeks. So there's some money to be made on the short side and long side if you engage the momentum traders and what they're going to do.
Dennis, I think what you were, kind of saying, what it sounded like you were saying to me is you put something in place of your day so that you could sort of prevent yourself a little bit. You're like, okay, I'm going to trade from these times to these times. After that time, like, get me away from my computer. I'm leaving the house or whatever.
What I've learned, and obviously I have to do that because I'm trading pre-market. So I'm trading hours, and you can't, I'm not a Jim Cramer machine that I can just work 18 hours a day or 20 hours a day and sleep 2 hours a night like he says he does. I don't know if that's true or not. But I, need to do other things. I have 2 kids. I got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. So I've other responsibilities here as well. So I can't just be trading 16 hours a day. I trade when I can make the most money. So I've always analyzed my hours, and I make the most money trading from, this time where I'm doing the radio show isn't, so much I'm making the money, but I'm making it that 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, that open, the close, after hours trading news events. We know I like to trade the news, and there's a lot of alpha in there. If you can be right, on news interpretation, you can make a lot of money. So I love trading the news. So I'll trade that 4 to 5 hour very significantly. A lot of times I'll trade till 8 o'clock at night. The stocks are open until 8 o'clock at night on all your on your exchanges there. A lot of people, the New York Stock Exchange official closes 4, but the stocks themselves on ARCA and NASDAQ don't close until 8 o'clock. So you can trade them at night as well. And sometimes there's some good opportunities there. So I trade when I can make the most money. What I've found over the last 6 or 7 years when I've moved to these hours is that I wasn't making enough money. I was still making money, but I wasn't making enough in the hours of 10:30 to 2:30. And that's why I stopped trading those hours, and I adjusted. I started to get up earlier in the morning and trade earlier in the morning. I started to stay later, and I started to, trade those hours at 4 to 5 o'clock. There's a lot of news. There's a lot of stuff going on. I can play relationship-based trades. I can do all kinds of fun things there, or just trade the headlines themselves, which we've talktalked about a lot on the show. So, I try to trade when I can make the most money.
I spoke with a Benzinga Pro user last week, and he was like, "Oh, Brent, I'm over trading. I'm trading too much." And I'm like, "Well, it sounds like you don't do too much fundamental research. Put a time in your day where you're going to do your fundamental research, and really the benefit is that you're not trading for those 2 hours or whatever." And so, it sounds like you did something similar where you had, you analyzed where you were making your most money and said, okay, well, let's look at this between 10 and 2. I'm not doing as well. So why don't we take it off the plate totally?
That's what and for a lot of years. So from, for years, I started trading prop in 1999. Till 2010, I would never have dreamed of taking off an hour in the middle of the day. There was too much money to be made. But high frequency traders, have dominated those spaces, and they love the chop. And what I think they do, they chop you up a lot. Around that 11, 12, 1, you see a lot of, just chop and, nonsense. And it's hard to trade those. So, analyze your own trading, analyze the hour to hours. Where are you making the most money? That's where you focus your time and effort. I would say I make the majority of my money at that open, near the close, and that first hour, 4 to 5 o'clock, because that's where a lot of news breaks after hours. Even in the pre-market too, the 9 to 9:30, because you're getting imbalances coming. You're getting indications of where stocks might open. There may be relationships that are out to lunch. I talk about those on the pre-market show all the time. But let's go bring on a trader who does trade a lot throughout the day as well. And that's Jerremy Newsome. And obviously we've had him on the show a lot of times. And Jerremy specializes in a time frame that I don't, where I'm short-term scalper. He's more a little longer term. He does some swings. He'll do some short-term scalping as well. But very good trader. So let's go grab Jerremy Newsome from Real Life Trading.
So
if we know how to do that. We normally have Spencer doing it. Chris is going to try to get him.
Yeah, Chris is on it. I think Jerremy just knows how to join our Zoom.
Jerremy, are you out there? Are you listening? Come join us.
He might be listening. Yeah, it might be it. Jerremy, can you hear me knocking?
If he got, I hope we sent him the Zoom link, because we use Zoom now for this. So hopefully we got him.
So Chris,
emailed the Zoom link.
Yeah, maybe just send him the Zoom link real quick. And Dennis, we always got enough stuff to talk about. So
well, we can keep going here. Chris is going to try to get.
Don't want to talk to Jerremy. We love talking with Jerremy.
We're just trying to figure it all out. Spencer's the man on this. He does it every day. So we just got to figure out the logistics here to get Jerremy on the show here. I can just message him right now and just see if he's ready, if he's got the Zoom link. I'll just send him a quick hit. I've got him on text here. Trying to find
Chris says, tell Dennis to message him, send him the link, please, to Zoom.
Well, I don't have a link.
Oh,
you have to send the link. I'm not.
You got the link.
So Chris has the link. Chris, can you send? Do you have Jeremy's email?
Yeah, he's got the email. He's just looking for a link right now.
Yeah, Chris will send him the link. I'll say, do you have the link? Okay, I just texted Jerremy. Hopefully he's going to respond here. So we'll get him on here. Chris working on that in the background. But we're having a good conversation here. We can keep Jerremy a little bit longer too, obviously. We don't have to just drop the guest at 8:50 when we get him on late. So we'll maybe keep Jerremy for the rest of the show when we do grab him. But you talked about some ratings off the hop here.
Yeah, we didn't get
Brentster.
to
Let's go to the Bed Bath & Beyond. because we have an analyst that's bullish it here this morning. It's a stock that's been in the eternal doghouse here, a stock that I've been very bearish as well, but we saw this market turn, and look how funny it is. You know, here it is in August. Here's a stock that had been a dog, and the leaders became laggards, and the laggards became leaders, and Bed Bath & Beyond was a laggard that became a leader in August. Obviously had a really good month from $7.60 up to $11, has pulled back. You know what? I don't mind this call, but but one thing is, though, it's going to matter what the earnings are. And it's tough to trade something technically when you're going to have earnings on Wednesday, like you said. So you have a day or two to trade this. Maybe you show some life. Maybe you make a few nervous shorts, squeeze it up to 11 maybe. It's at 10:30 here this morning. But what was the analyst? Who was the analyst?
It was Wedbush analyst. Wedbush upgrades outperform. They raised their price target to 16 bones. They were at $14 before, so kind of a small price target increase there. I'm looking to see if we have the note. We usually have Wedbush notes. Let me see if I can find a little color from this here, Dennis.
Okay. And we're seeing the stock trade up at 10:30 here this morning. Like I said, I think this is a stock that has room to 11. I'd be nervous about chasing it here, though, just because we have the earnings coming on Wednesday, and that matters. And we have seen some significant rallies in some of the dog retailers, and Bed Bath & Beyond has been nothing but a dog for a long time now. And then they come out with earnings, and sometimes they rally, and sometimes it's more of a coin flip. Like we saw Michael's have significant rally, and then we saw some of the other retailers that, you know, I'm trying to think of which one I was thinking of. Anyways, we saw some of the other, you know, retailers here that have been hit hard on their earnings, but I would expect a big move off their earnings report on Wednesday. So you got a day or two to trade ahead of it. Like I said, maybe there's room to 11, but I'd be nervous holding it through the report.
Yeah, and just a little, we do got Jerremy here, but just a little quick color from that Wedbush call. While turning around declining retailers is a very difficult task, particularly amidst unfavorable secular trends, we see a good chance of stabilization, if not growth, in earnings over the next 2 years. Has a reconstituted board. The analyst likes the reconstituted board. Much improved governance. They're resetting their cost structure. They have a plan to reduce inventory by about $1 billion. That would be about 40% of their inventory. So this analyst here, this Wedbush analyst here, has it on their best ideas list. Also making some, you know, pretty dramatic fundamental calls here. And we'll just switch over to Jerremy. Jerremy, are you out there? Let's see.
What's going on, champion? How are you?
Oh, he is. There he is.
Yeah, man.
No video this morning, Jerremy?
Let me see if I can turn it on. My webcam has been messing up recently.
Oh, we want to see this Newsome guy. He's trying. Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
He's here. There he is. Yeah, we got Jerremy Newsome. What's going on, buddy? How are you? How's the weekend?
Weekend was amazing, man. So far, so good. Still going well. It's Monday, man. I'm pumped. I love Mondays.
I'm following you on Twitter, and it seems like you were saying last month you didn't have the best month. It seems like this month you were just on fire, buddy. You've been on fire this month. What are you trading here? It seems like every day you're coming out with big winners.
September is much better than August, man. August is tough.
Monster. You know what? I'm the exact opposite. My August was my best month in 5 years, and September's turned out to be one of my worst. I'm still green, but it has not been a good month for me. I've had some bad luck this month.
Man. So I gave you
one of those
money.
things.
I gave you all my
money. Are we on the opposite sides? Maybe we're just doing opposite trades.
Dennis, Jeremy's the line jumper.
See how Jeremy's the Q jumper.
Has to be.
What have you been trading? What's up?
Tesla, honestly, man, was probably my biggest win for September.
Bullish side, right? Or you played it bearish too, didn't you?
I played it. Yeah, I played it both sides.
Wow, but, it's a break both ways. This guy knows what's going on.
So early September was really good for some bulls on Tesla, and then I got really lucky on the 24th last week when it had that big random drop, like 8% drop. I was in most of that bearish for that day.
Awesome.
But I'm gonna keep an eye on it going long, man. I really think Tesla could have some decent upside because the volume was huge on the 24th.
Yeah.
And we've already taken out. We closed above that volume. So I feel like there's going to be some bears, some overzealous bears that got trapped. Yeah, exactly.
The biggest volume day going back all the way to the end of July there. About 13 to 14 million shares traded.
And it's bounced back so quickly that if you were in that bearish camp and you blinked or took a day off, it's like, boom, all of a sudden it goes from 220 to 240. It seems like overnight. I mean, I agree. I think you do have maybe some shorts caught here.
Yeah, so we started breaking above 245 again, and I'll keep an eye on it. So this is just one that I've been having fun trading really over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Amazon has just been crushing me because I'm trying to figure out when it's going to roll over because it looks so weak for some reason. Like on the weekly chart, the daily chart, it just kind of keeps breaking down, keeps going lower. It can't hold its head above water. It had that like almost breakout around 1850. Right,
Yeah.
everyone thought it was going to go to 1900. It just can't keep hitting it. But every time I tried shorting it, I feel like it's the wrong day.
It's been tough to chase them, and now you think like 1825 a week and a half ago. Now it's 1725. Do I want to chase it and short it down here? I'm on the wrong side.
Exactly.
I mean, Gil Morales, we've had him on the show quite a few times, and he says it's been more of the play to to buy some of these dips as opposed to sell them. I don't know, like it's still that, it's a little bit of that overall rotation, I think, that's keeping Amazon down, where we've seen the higher PE stocks get hit and the lower PE stocks rally. I'm not sure that rotation is over here, but maybe that rotation is starting to get a little long in the tooth because we've been doing that for about the last 3 weeks here. And I just wonder if the trade doesn't, start to come off here eventually.
Yeah,
they actually start to sell some of these, lower PE stocks and start to, buy the dip on the higher PE stocks again. I mean, the Rokus and the Shopify's been absolutely killed. So not that Amazon, it's a little more stable stock than those two, but are you even playing those at all, the Rokus and the Shopify's?
Yes. So I have been playing Roku. I'm pretty bearish on Roku. Well, I shouldn't say pretty bearish. I mean, short term, like I actually like the company and the fundamentals, all that stuff, but I think within the next 2-3 weeks, I don't see why it can't go a little bit lower. That move that we had was just parabolic. I think everyone who knows anything about trading, once it got over 160, I'm like, nah.
Got silly.
This is
getting silly.
This is 500% return in a year. Give me a break.
Yeah, I was getting silly.
I was waiting. I definitely did not get the top on that, but once it had that September 10th drop, I was like, yeah, this is it. We're going to go a little bit lower. Everything looks weak. So I still expect it to go down to the low 90s, high 80s. I think makes a lot of sense. So you're talking about Roku. I mean,
when you're putting these trades on, are you flat out short in the stock or do you use options?
So I very, very rarely short stock as a swing trade. I certainly will.
Yeah.
Normally I'm day trading at bearish or I'm trading options.
Okay.
Yep. So on Roku, it was long puts and short shares for day trading, and that worked pretty well for some of the moves down. But I'm in short. Let's see, Workday right now shares WDAY.
Let's go check it out.
So Workday, I got in. Let's see, on what day was that? That was when it broke down September 24th.
Yeah.
And I held through the pop that happened the last 2 days. And so expecting Workday to potentially go down a little bit lower. It may or may not. I'm not entirely sure, but I am in shares on that one. But you're asking about Shopify. This is a rare strategy I don't do very often, but I'm long January 220 puts. I got long on those back on the 20th of September. So I'm long out of the money puts, which I normally sell out of the money puts. But Shopify, if you go to a weekly chart on this thing, man, it was ridiculous. And it's been breaking down some really strong support.
It looks scary. You look at the dailies and you're like, oh, it's coming to support. You look at the weeklies and you're like, there's no support till we get down to $200.
Bingo. That's kind of the thing, man.
Crazy how just changing the time frame, the chart looks completely different.
Looks completely different. And this is one I actually like the company. Again, fundamentals look good, but that was just ridiculous. It's like some of these moves were just insane.
Yeah. Everybody just piling in. And I've talked about the Canadian aspect of Shopify, and I believe Canadian money managers just loading this up too, because they don't have anywhere else to go. I mean, the tech companies in Canada aren't very many. So you get one good one and they all load up. And I think that was a lot to do with this entire move this entire year. Now maybe that trade's coming off a little bit. I think at a certain point in time, Shopify is going to be a buy again, just simply because I do like the company, and I believe there's not a lot of other places to go if you're investing in tech in Canada as a Canadian tech manager there. But right now, being a hero has always been, a difficult trade, and the stock still looks weak as well.
Yep, I agree, man. I just when it had that share offering, so it had some really big volume. let's see, what day was the share offering? So the share offering was the 17th of September.
Yeah.
And you just had a lot of volume coming in because people were excited about it. They figured it was going to happen. It needed to happen because the company was losing money. So that,
Raising
having the share
cash.
offering wasn't a bad thing. But since we've taken out the low of that share offering already, was like it was a little rough. Just from a technical standpoint, from a fundamental standpoint, I guess the company still makes sense. But
I mean, from a technical standpoint, this is textbook, because if we look just at the daily highs and lows, I believe, and Brent, you might want to correct me on this, but I'm going from my memory. I believe that offering was 317 priced at. And we bounced off that level a couple of times. We tried to, and then we took it out, and that was the whoosh when we got down to 287. Well, look, we bounced back up, and where do we bounce to? Look at the highs from the last 4 days: 315, 316, 316. You've got all the people who maybe participated in that offering buying the stock at 317, saying, hey, I can get my money back here. For 4 days it tops out just below that 317 level. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think there's people who were stuck long at that point saying, I'm going to get my money back and I want it back. I'm going to lose a buck maybe on it. I'm fine with that on Shopify because I was just down 30 in it. So that 317 level is huge for it, and now it looks like it is indeed trying to stall out there. And what does that mean? Maybe it means a continuation of the previous trend, which is definitely down.
That offering was actually 317.50.
Oh, I was on by 50 cents. So a pretty good memory, 317 and a half.
So the day
we round on $300 stocks. We rounded the nearest point. I'm going to go 317. Even though my math teacher would yell at me for that and say, when you're 317.50, you round to the closest even number, so it would be 318.
It doesn't work that way, Dennis. 317.55 was the low the day after they did that offering.
Those offering prices, those are magnet numbers. So a lot of times they like to test those, and the technicals then obviously can play out that way. So yeah, interesting setup there on Shopify. So you remain bearish the stock right now.
Yeah, exactly. So I have long puts on it, the 220 January. And again, my main challenge right now is just keeping an eye on it to kind of more or less expect, it doesn't have to go to 220, but I think it could. That's the crazy thing,
And I don't even know, like, just looking at the chart and some of these lows, I don't even know if the 200, there's only a couple lows around the 200 level. It's sort of looking more like 150 where
I mean, that's so far down. I think you're going to find buyers before then. So I think Jeremy will probably be, even though you buy the 220 puts, it doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be, waiting for 220. If thing falls 50 points, you might be ringing the register there too, buddy. It's one thing, he's just making a bearish call here.
Yep, exactly. But that's the thing, man, is it could. Brent's correct. What's really interesting is I'm keeping an eye on April 30th. April 30th had a really big volume spike, and there's tons of people long from April 30th. And so I know the market loves to take the stocks down just to prices where a lot of people would be trapped. So the 200 simple moving average on the daily chart is 252. So yeah, we hit that. I'll probably sell those options because they'd be up like 300% at that point, maybe even a little bit more. But a little bit of weakness, man. Look at this.
What do you pay for the 220s? How much do you pay for that? What's the premium like on those?
I paid $550.
Okay.
Yeah. So right now,
at least you know what your max loss is, but you're pretty good at getting out of those things too. You usually don't lose your max on those options.
No, very very frequently. But this one, correct. I mean, 550. Your worst case scenario. That's what I like about options. I mean, I don't think Shopify is going to get bought out, but you were talking about shorting the shares or whatever. I just felt like that would probably be the least of my. I don't know, man. Like
when you play it buying puts, you're limiting your risk,
Exactly.
significantly. That's the nice thing about that. And I have been in stocks and I have been short stocks and have been bought out before, and it really sucks. And we're not saying that at all. We're just saying, you obviously take that off the table when you just got the puts because you can only lose 550. I mean, it's a real tough pill to swallow. If you're trading overnight, anything can happen in any news, especially, I've been in biotech stocks, short a stock that's come out with a good trial and it's doubled. And you're like, what do I do now? Well, you know what? You eat it. And that's why you still stay diversified in your long-term portfolio or even in your swing trading or day trading portfolio, because bad things can happen overnight, and it can move against you significantly there. So you always have to be there. So puts are one way of limiting that risk.
Yeah. I was going to say, by the way, Brent, dude, I love that shirt.
Oh, thank you.
Spencer's always stylish. Yeah. He's always stylish.
Fire.
So I got the Benzinga shirt going, so I'm just representing here. Yeah.
Benzinga shirt, though, the Trading Summit shirt, Dennis?
Yeah, that's the Trading Summit one. You gotta give me more shirts, and then I can just wear a different Benzinga shirt every day. Send me some more shirts.
Jeremy, when are we gonna get you to Detroit to come hang out at BZHQ? We'll get Dennis over. It'll be a good big old party.
Come on
I
up.
was just talking to Renato about that actually.
Nice.
So I'm in, man. We can make it happen whenever.
Let's do it.
Apparently, someone told me that winter's coming up, and you don't want to be in Detroit in the winter.
It's not like Nashville, buddy.
Well,
It's not, but it's also not that bad. I mean, I obviously I go in the cottage. My cottage is north of Toronto up there. They're in the snow belt up there, and they get feet of snow. I mean, we get inches of snow. It's not really that bad. Maybe at any given point through January, there may be 8 or 10 inches, maybe a foot on the ground of accumulated snow. But there's not 4 or 5 feet like in certain areas. So we're not too bad. Don't be too scared of Detroit in the winter.
you got.
Dude, I'm down, Brent. Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. You got. I mean, October's fine. November's fine. December is okay. Just after that, yeah, we'll just come see us next spring, whatever.
Gotcha. Yeah. So what else are you looking at today?
More stocks on our list here. Let's talk the banks. And I don't know if you trade the banks that much. You like the Momo stuff, but we have seen some of the banks taking off here as of late. Wells Fargo with an excellent day on Friday. I thought that move might fade. It did not. I also believe there was some analyst commentary on Wells Fargo here today, but just overall, you can look even the XLF, which isn't always the best indicator because so much Berkshire Hathaway in there, but Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, they've all shown some life this month. This rotation maybe into the lower PE names has helped, but also the interest rate trade here, where interest rates, look, at least for the short term, maybe they're not going to go up as much as everybody, or down as quickly as everybody maybe anticipated here, and the banks are benefiting from that.
And we're gonna be getting into the big bank earnings season, and then
do you trade the banks ever there, Jeremy? Or are they too boring for you?
I do not own any long-term banks. I do trade them ever so often.
Which ones do you pick on when you're trading them?
Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
I usually short it.
But usually short it usually works.
Yeah, usually short it, and that usually works. And right now, I'm watching for JP Morgan to kind of roll over, just because it made a brand new all-time high.
Yeah.
Obviously, very, very strong company, but it almost has like a tweezer pattern on the daily chart. So again, just looking at pure.
Define that tweezer pattern for us.
Yep. So on JP Morgan, the candles, the highs actually of September 19th and September 20th are numerically the exact same.
Okay.
So $120.34 to the nose.
Yeah.
So you have someone sitting up there shorting it really hard at 120 and a half. So I mean that's a big deal, and I think that since it just made a new all-time high, it went up from 107 to 120. Yeah, it's pretty fast, man. Just kind of a not random run up, but with the interest rates, I mean, that's a strong bullish move. So I'm just keeping an eye on it to not break those levels over the next few days or weeks, and slowly pull back some more.
Huge volume on that second day of the 120.34, Jeremy. Almost 23 million shares, 22 million shares.
Dude, thank you for noticing. But yes, I agree. I think it's very interesting that there's a lot of volume, and that was pretty much an all-time high, very close to it. I mean, the all-time high was 120.40. So there's someone up there who really likes to sell JP Morgan, either for a profit or selling it short. I don't know.
Let's do a couple tickers from the chat here just before we let you go. Get your thoughts. DC wants to know about TSM, Taiwan Semiconductor stocks. Had a decent last couple of months. It looks like it's been trending up here. Maybe the Micron earnings putting a damper on most of the semiconductors on Friday. So TSM had a little bit of a tougher candle on Friday. It's lifting here this morning here. Is there a headline? There must be a headline on TSM, or is this just overnight? Brentster, you can go to the pro, but what are your thoughts here? It's up at 46.5 this morning.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. I think DC is right with that gap up. I mean, this is very, very close to, I think it is an all-time high gap today.
Really?
So TSM has never been at 46.55. So this is a big. Let me actually check over here.
I see 46.51 on Thursday.
Yep, and then 46.57 back on January 23rd. So this is a pretty good gap. I mean, big picture. It is a consolidation distribution time frame, and I do think that it could slowly peel higher, but buy some type of dip on Taiwan Semiconductor.
And we had Goldman, Dennis, adding it to their conviction buy list today.
55. I just saw that. Yeah.
They got a price target added to their buy list. So
that's your catalyst. GS is on it.
I love it.
So we got Taiwan Semiconductor, and then what about Micron? We've got just grab his name there. Yeah, go for the W in the chat. It's a fun ticker symbol, or it's a fun name there he's got for his handle. Go for the W. And Micron had a horrible day. I still have it in my long-term portfolio, but wow, they whacked the hell out of that thing. Yeah. What are your thoughts here on MU? Is this one that continues to leak?
Earnings were pretty brutal, man.
They were okay. They just interpreted it as being brutal. So I thought the earnings were actually okay. Some of the commentary, but for whatever reason, sometimes they look at this and say no. And they did buy it for the first minute or two, and then it started rolling over, and it really never stopped. So
I think it can continue to leak a little bit more. I'm thinking max pain is around 40.
Yeah.
And then again, it'll get bought up. I think that gap that happened does fill. It'll take it some time, but I'm a buyer on Micron if it goes low enough.
DC wants to know about race, RACE, Ferrari. We talk about Tesla a lot. We don't give enough love here on the show to Ferrari. RACE is trading up $1 in the pre-market. Obviously trades as an ADR, so it's actively trading over in Europe here right now. So it's already priced where it wants to be really for today, trading up $1.40. But what do you think on the technicals on RACE?
Technicals look good, man. If it can hold and open above 154, I mean, right now it's at 153.5. So yeah, it's very, very, very light volume. So I wouldn't be massively excited about the gap, but if it can open or close above 154, I like Ferrari's trend, man. The bullish trend long term looks good. The fundamentals look good. I like Ferrari as a dip buy, as long as it does not close below last week's low, because then it would be a double top. So if it closes below 147.67 anytime in the next 3 or 4 weeks, I would be short if that happens.
So 9:01 here. We're just going a minute over here. So Jeremy, just final thoughts for today. You look at the S&Ps; they have actually leaked a lot of their gains away. I think we were trading up significant because China was pretty good, but we have started to leak here. What are your overall market thoughts? Because I'm kind of you came in, you somewhat bullish Tesla, bearish Roku, Shopify. Seems like you got some bearish trades and some bullish trades on. But what are your overall thoughts on the S&P from a technical perspective? We look at SPY.
Yeah, man, I am very, very neutral right now. I have some bull, I have some bear positions.
Yeah.
I'm quite neutral because I think I can fully expect anything to happen. October is going to be either quite bearish or exceedingly bullish. I don't know.
That's why you're neutral.
That's why I'm neutral, man, because it really could go either direction. I do actually prefer it to drop. I think October would be nice to play it bearish. Today is going to be a great day to stay in bed, honestly. Low volume today. I don't think anything's going to happen. It's going to be an inside day, and then everything starts kicking off on Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. So if for day trading today, I'll be looking for things that are trading past previous highs, either above previous highs or below previous lows. Otherwise, I won't be taking that many trades today. I can assure you on that.
Well, maybe get your trades in, Jeremy, and then you can get back and snuggle in bed if you want.
Dude, I'm looking forward to it, man.
We all need that every once in a while.
Yeah.
All right, Jeremy. Well, thanks for coming on. Appreciate you. We'll get you back on soon.
All right, gentlemen. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Sir. All right, Dennis. Good stuff. We're a few minutes over. Jeremy, thanks for staying us a few later.
Yeah, quick and balanced look. There's really not much happening. Wells Fargo 64,000 to buy. I obviously always like looking at the TLT when I'm trading banks. TLT is a little bit weaker here this morning, trading down 65 cents, which makes me automatically think that the banks could show a little bit of strength here this morning. We do have a downgrade to USB if you're trading that bank. I forget who downgraded this morning, but that's why it is trading in the red.
That was Bank of America down.
Bank of America downgrade. Alibaba 148,000 to buy here this morning. It's trading up significantly, but like I was saying, I think that bounce could get faded. A lot of people here maybe caught long. Square is still showing a little bit of life, trading in the green, 33,000 to buy. It's trying to hold up. I like that Square held up on Friday when a lot of higher PE names, which Square would be one of them, were getting hit. Square was not. I'm still long Square in the long-term portfolio. Full size position for me now because I added to it on the dip. I'm thinking, from a trading perspective, I actually don't mind it here either, as long as it stays above the 59.83, 59.93 little double bottom that it made here the last couple of days. Below that, you get concerned that it could fill that little gap that we have in there down to 58.89, and then, obviously maybe retest the lows. But as long as it stays above that 59.89 area, I remain in the bull camp for in the short term and long term on Square.
Awesome, Dennis. Are you ready to wrap her up?
Yeah, 9:04. We'll wrap her up here. So go ahead and wrap Brentster. Obviously, we'll have Joel and Spencer here back tomorrow. Thank you so much, Brent, for coming on. Enjoyed being with you there. We got to get you on the show more, man.
I know.
Brent used to always be a news guy. He's so busy running the pro that he doesn't come on the show enough anymore. We got to get you on more, man.
It's not my fault. Tell the news to quiet down, and then I can.
This is the brains behind your Benzinga Pro, though, guys. Here it is, right here. You're looking at him, the guy that's a news interpreter, and he's getting in there and obviously breaking news for you guys as well. So it's the Brentster. Here he is.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me, and thanks for all the listeners out there. Great show. We had Beer Guy saying thanks, guys. Great show. Good show, Mr. Maps. Thanks, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. You won't see me tomorrow, but you can always find me on Benzinga Pro. Come over and say hello. Dennis Dick, Brent Slava, Chris Dyer Squeeze. Signing off. Thanks, guys.